Johnny Lawrence, a former karate champion, disgraced. But wait, wasn't that an illegal kick to the face? We're talking Cobra Kai Finale today on Grover Served. Hi, I'm Tanner Grover. Welcome to Grover Served, where today I'm taking on the daunting task of talking about Cobra Kai. It's part nostalgia porn, it's part teen soap, but it's all badass. It's the Legacy Series sequel to the Karate Kid franchise. But before we get into all the delicious details, if you could go ahead and smash that subscribe button, as if you were Daniel-san in the Karate Kid Part 2, smashing through those ice bricks, that would really be swell. And while you're at it, go ahead and click the notification bell so hopefully more of me shows up in your feed. Just a quick heads up, Grover Served is not a spoiler-free show, and this is definitely not going to be a spoiler-free episode. I'm going to take this time to talk about the series as a whole, and the finale episode in particular. You know, so often we have these series that last with us for 5, 6, 7 years, and they just don't stick the landing. Cobra Kai does that in all the best ways possible. Now, in case you've been living under a bonsai tree since 2018, which for the record is a very small tree, let me just quickly catch up on the basic premise of what Cobra Kai is all about. It's essentially the inverse of the Karate Kid. That's a movie franchise featuring Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio. In that film franchise, Daniel was always the hero. And in the very first Karate Kid film, it culminates in a battle between his bully, Johnny Lawrence, played by William Zabka. Now, Johnny Lawrence, he's been taught by the evil sensei John Kreese, played by Martin Kove, whereas Daniel has been taught by the noble Mr. Miyagi, played by Pat Morita, formerly of Happy Days fame. Anywho, it's a great story. It's essentially Rocky for kids. But in Cobra Kai, what we have is a now middle-aged, downtrodden, beaten up by society Johnny Lawrence. And he believes that that final kick at the end of the first Karate Kid film, that was an illegal kick to the face. And ever since then, he's been down on his luck. He's drunk, he has basically abandoned his son, he's broke, and nothing's going right for him. So what does Johnny do to try to turn his life around? Well, he reopens the Cobra Kai dojo. His first student is his neighbor, a character named Miguel Diaz, who I'm going to mispronounce the actor's name that plays him, Zolo Maridueña, I believe. Anyways, Miguel is bullied, much in a similar fashion in the way that Daniel LaRusso gets bullied in the original Karate Kid franchise. So now what you have is you have Johnny Lawrence, who is the antagonist of the first film, basically playing the Mr. Miyagi role to Miguel, who is kind of standing in for Daniel. The only difference is instead of the honorable Miyagi-Do karate that Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel, we have Cobra Kai being taught to Miguel. And the lessons that Johnny learned are a little questionable, right? I mean, that has kind of been his entire life's MO. But regardless, the series does a great job right from the outset of establishing some sympathy for Johnny Lawrence. We feel for the guy. He's a guy's guy. And while he's not perfect, none of us are as humans, right? It's actually quite the foil to Daniel LaRusso, who's also introduced to us in that very first episode as a successful car salesman. Once Daniel learns of Johnny's reopening of Cobra Kai, he becomes obsessed with trying to shut it down and take it on in the All Valley Karate Championships. That culminates at the end of the first season. On one hand, you have Johnny, who's now trained Miguel to become a pretty intense warrior, and on the opposite side, you have Daniel, who linked up with Robbie Keane. That's Johnny's son, whom he doesn't really have a good relationship with. Robbie learns the way of Miyagi-Do, whereas Miguel learns the way of Cobra Kai. Miguel and Robbie clash multiple times throughout the entire series, and this is where we really get into the teen soap aspect of it all. They're high school students, right? We also have Sam LaRusso, Daniel's daughter, and Tori Nichols, who becomes Johnny's first really prominent female student. There was Aisha early on, but she was kind of written out of the script. We also get characters like Hawk, Dimitri, Stingray, even a guy named Penis Breath. It's all quite fun. And they're frenemies, right? They go back and forth. They jump between the two dojos, Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Eventually, Cobra Kai gets taken over by the evil John Kreese, who resurfaces, as does other Karate Kid characters. That's what makes it so nostalgic. We get Chosen from Karate Kid Part 2. He might be honestly one of my favorites. His comic relief is kind of hilarious. We get the diabolical Terry Silver, the coked up villain from Karate Kid Part 3. And those are just some of the major characters I'm talking about. The amount of minor characters that this series brings back is truly insane. Though I will say this, they always do it with great context. They give you little flashback moments from the original films so they can just illustrate who exactly we're talking about in these scenes. Since I'm an elder millennial, it's really hard for me to imagine watching this series inside of a vacuum without knowing what happens in Karate Kids 1, 2, or 3. I don't think a viewer could fully appreciate all the time and effort it went into making this thing feel complete and really fleshed out. It's a detailed painting. But that's also where I appreciate their shift in moving this to some of the teenage characters, which I'm invested in as a viewer, and it's created new fans. It's really rare for something to reach multiple generations of people. This is the kind of television show that you could watch with your teenage son or daughter, and they're going to love it for different reasons than you do. That's what makes Cobra Kai so special. So let's talk about the final episode. The Seikei Takai tournament has ended in a tie, but now we have to determine the winner. And the two senseis of the tied dojos have to fight for one another. Johnny Lawrence for Cobra Kai, and then Sensei Wolf for the Iron Dragons. Now, Sensei Wolf, I like this character as a villain, but here's my gripe, and this is more of a overarching feel for Season 6 as itself. We haven't spent enough time with him. I don't feel like as a final boss, he's been built up quite enough. Not in the same way that John Kreese was earlier in the series, or Terry Silver after that. And I felt the same way about the Iron Dragon students, right? Axel, who took on Robbie Keane, and then Miguel, and Sarah, who took on Sam LaRusso, that never really manifested. But then Tori. Despite all that, the odds couldn't feel more insurmountable. And that's really what we want out of this episode. We've been with Johnny since the very beginning. We've seen how low he is, and now we want to see him get to the very top. Now, the training montage in the beginning, the fight scene where he actually does beat Wolf by using both Cobra Kai karate and Miyagi-Do karate, all of it was awesome. But what really makes this episode stand out is the epilogue, because we get a little exclamation point on every major and almost every minor character in the series. It's really done well, and it's something I haven't seen done that well probably since 6 Feet Under on HBO. That series, to me, is the creme de la creme of finale episodes, and Cobra Kai delivers. So how would I rank this on the groverserved rating system? If we were talking about Season 6 as a whole, I'd have to give it a couple of glasses. I've already mentioned how I wasn't a fan of Hotshot and the final bosses. And then there was the whole Terry Silver cancer diagnosis. That felt a little bit weird. And just the season being 15 episodes altogether, it was too long, too convoluted, and I didn't like the 3-part rollout. But we're talking about the final episode itself. And for that, for the way this thing wrapped up, I have no notes. It was really that good. Every music montage made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I love how it ends for Johnny Lawrence. He gets his family, he gets the house, he gets his dojo back, he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. We get a beautiful reimagining of the Cobra Kai slogan, straight hard, straight first, no mercy. Johnny puts it all into context, and he does it all with this newfound balance. He's come to respect Daniel-san and Miyagi-Do karate, but he remembers that he's still not a pussy. That's what we love about Johnny Lawrence. It's been 65 episodes, and it's a lot to digest, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did you like the Cobra Kai finale? Did you hate it? How do you feel about some of the characters? Who were your favorites? Personal favorite of mine was Chosen. I love that guy. But maybe there were some storylines that you felt could have been wrapped up a little bit better. I want to hear all your thoughts. The other thing I want you to do is just take a second and subscribe to the channel. Alright, Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.